This is Paula de Santana, who's visiting us from Manaus, Brazil, which is in the north of Brazil in the state of Amazonas. And Paula will be talking about the production of urban space in Amazonas, Brazil. She's one of the international fellows for YESI this year. That they've funded a number of fellows, I think 8 or 10 fellows. And so Paula will talk for 40 minutes or so, and then there'll be some chance to have questions. And this is being recorded, so that we have some online viewers. But just to give a brief background on Paula, she's a professor of the postgrad program in geography at UFAM, which is the Federal University of Amazonas. And she coordinates something called NEPECAB, which is the Brazilian acronym that stands for what is it?
The studies of
the nucleus. Yeah, the nucleus on research of cities and urbanization. It was called in the Brazilian Amazon, but now they call it the Amazon because they're looking at some areas beyond, kind of across the border in Colombia, for instance. And so her research focuses on urban geography and economic geography, including questions around nature and urban development and production of urban space, which she'll be talking to us about. She's led various projects in a number of sites around Amazonas, particularly around Manaus, to look at the dynamics of Amazonian cities, urban management, and the Amazonian urban network, as well as impacts of the state-owned oil and gas firm Petrobras on the region, for instance, their activities in investing in certain sectors. And this work has been funded through various agencies, particularly something called CNPq, or in Brazil they call it
CNPq.
Yeah, CNPq, which is the kind of equivalent of UKRI, the Council on National Development of Science and Technology, I think. And so Paul and I actually met at a workshop back in 2016 that was funded by the British Council, one of the Researcher Links workshops. So it's kind of an extension of that. And we've been wanting to kind of get together again and pursue some common interests. So this was a chance for us to do that. So yeah, I'll turn it over to you now, Paula.
Yeah. I'd like to say thank you for being here. It's an honor for me to be here, and I would like to express my gratitude to the YESI and University of York and the professors Lindsay Stringer, George Kirchner, and the coordinator, YESI coordinator, Rachel Hill. And I'd like to thank you to have this opportunity to talk something about my country and where I live now and where I'm. May I pass from here? It's Rachel or me to?
Oh, I think you should be able to do that. Yeah, let me see. That's weird.
It's not working.
Oh my gosh.
No, I found it.
You did?
I found a way.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Yeah. Well, my presentation is divided into 4 parts. First, Josh asked me to talk about the NEPECAB, as I would say, and then about the production of urban space in Amazonas, state of Brazil, and then a brief overview about the health and energy in their bases, and what about to do now, and should we do from now on. And just an invitation to go to move our eyes to Brazil in the center of the map, just to see that Amazonas and Amazonia, we need to speak it in plural because we have different kind of Amazonias. So it means that also it's a different, we have different countries, but I would talk about only Brazil, and especially inside of one of the states of Brazil called Amazonas state and Manaus in a particular way. But NEPECAB would like to see that it's located, how it's located. So inside of large green fragment inside of the city of Manaus that is inside of the forest. And how it began, NEPECA began with two geographers in Brazil, in UFAM. One of those called José Aldemir de Oliveira. He returned with his thesis about the cities in the jungle, urbanization of the Amazonas. And their initial idea was to get people together to study a French philosopher called Henri Lefebvre that have studies and his main book is called the production of space, exactly. So and the cities, about the cities, but they didn't find and no one interested at that time. But they continue working, and they have some questions, guiding questions, like what is the urbanization process in the Amazon? We feel that it's not the same thing as anywhere and other places. How can we understand them, and what is the methodological procedures to understand these cities, these processes? So we have different versions, we have different subjects, issues to understand this, like housing, mobility, urban mobilities, network, urban network, food market, but also oil economy and the urban culture and other things. We have several projects. This one was my first one in UFAM, but we have it was inside a biggest one that is about the Amazonian cities, and it was about how we can understand them in the different kind of process. For instance, we have this most important company in Brazil. It's called Petrobras. So they started in the production of oil and in Amazonas in 1988. And then after that, they started to change landscape and income, municipalities income. Now they want to be the first of one to be able to make energy transition. So, but it's a contradiction because they work with the fossil fuels. So that's it. I just invite you to meet us and to see our place, our work, etc. Then about the production of urban space in Amazonas, we have something. I'd like to start with a form of recognition, to recognize the role of the indigenous people in this process, because it's common, our history starts with the colonization. So, but before it, we had in the place where Manaus is now, a cemetery, indigenous cemetery. So we can say that the city of the death or precedes the city of the living. And now there is a process of migration. They were spread in the state of the Amazon in Brazil as a whole. But in case of the Amazonas, I bring I brought this example, a simple one, about the Carapana who lived in upper Rio Negro, upper Rio Negro River, and now they live in Manaus. They are moving to Manaus as a indigenous metropolis, as I'm considering it this process. And those kind of houses, they called maloca. They used to have it, but the agents of the Catholic Church used to destroy it. And now they built a new one as a center of knowledge and science. So in this place where I was talking about the cemetery area, the Portuguese built a fortress, and in 1669, and then we had a economic boom about the latex rubber economy, and we had the crisis also. And for that, the government in Brazil have decided to start an implementation of the Manaus Free Trade Zone. So it was an induced process of industrialization we had. And nowadays we have, considering a population, indigenous population of over 70,000 people, it is for us is considered something very special, because uh, 10 years ago we have decided, uh, resisted about only 10,000 people, indigenous people. But we are not only a land of indigenous land. We have what I must say, a cosmopolitan city. We are a cosmopolitan city because we had a migration, migrants from everywhere, even in English, Italian, Jewish, and they have been there to as a workers or entrepreneurs. So the economy goes up, goes down, and the people comes and go, and we have this kind of flow of people, passengers, and goods every time. If if it's it have changed a lot along the history, and then for just a note, we have this demographic inflection, which means that between 70s and 80s, the city of Manaus, after a free trade zone, the industrialization, had this urban population growth. So we have some landscape to show you, and the arrival and departure mainly is from the through the rivers. This the rural population in 1950 was mainly rural one, riverside, riverine way of life. So we had this agrarian structure only in Brazil, or not only in Amazon, but in Brazil as a whole. So then this time, during the 50s, we had Manaus as a sub-metropolis because Belém was more important. Um, so in the urban hierarchy. And then I'd like to show that this space is a product of development policies, narrative like boosting economic growth in the depressed peripheral area region and a demographic emptiness to be avoided. So we had this process of industrialization. Just to have an idea about this uneven development in Brazil, we have our um, coast or the line of the Atlantic Ocean with high densities and lowest densities, population densities, not only population densities, but technical densities too, like a logistical thing, very rare, and even about the cities. So the cities are numerous in the Amazon in the arc of the deforestation. What means this part of east side of the Amazon, the, the growth, the capitalism, the industrialization, agribusiness is getting to the Amazon. And Amazonas seems to be resisting some this process, but is now just already affected, of course. One of the first studies about the thesis I mentioned before, Oliveira's thesis, he showed us in the a little bit north of Manaus, we have the creation of a new municipality of President Figueiredo because of the construction of a road, of a mining and the electric plant. So, and it affects the territory of the Vai Miriatori indigenous people. It's very complicated matter. Now we have in NEPECAB a procedures, methodological procedures to exclude Manaus, to analyze the smaller cities, because officially uh, all the other cities in Amazonas were small cities. But for the studies of NEPECAB's studies, we consider mediums and small cities because the importance of the role of them, some of them in the urban network. So we call a macrocephaly because of this. Manaus, it's well, it's on the we covered it, it's covered, but that's okay. It's bigger than the other ones is because the other ones has less than 100,000 people, and Manaus has over 2 million people. It's a difference,
Just a quick
especially.
Should we turn the light on? Are you guys seeing okay? I just was, okay. Yeah.
So just to see, as a main project we had, we studied those cities. Tabatinga in the frontier with Colombia is a twin city, we call like that, because it's just a street to cross the border. So with Colombia, and we have those other ones just to see between Tabatinga and far west and far east of the Amazonas, we have in line over 1,600 kilometers far to each other, just to have how big it is. Well, Brazil is a continental sized country. So for the point of view of the industry, we have these logistical bottlenecks that remain despite the development of the policies. We have few roads, we have the rivers, airport, something like that. Of course, we are far from a logistic of London logistics, right? But we have this kind of net structure, and we have changed the life during this process of changing the space built. One example is this kind of thing. We have the landscape changing every time. All the time, this is a road for lorries that is between the industrial district and the other cities in Amazonas. And then we have inside of this process, we have a high gross domestic product and about half of the population of Manaus municipality is registered as in a poor situation. So we have these differences. I'd like to introduce you some other issue that is related with this. This is this process of growth, expansion of new area, new urban areas. We have the several animals and the forest that has been reduced. So we have this anthropological and the biocentric way to see the problem. But I would like to say that the sign point for speed reduction in the roads we have in Manaus doesn't work exactly because the fragmentation of the green area is already established. But we have some conservation unities areas too. Manaus is one of those, and this square we can see the square is the largest reservation, forest reservation in Manaus, where we have a live Amazonian museum. Other thing, it's important to understand the reality of the Amazonas is about the hydrological dynamics. We have problems of trafficability, of low and high prices. The market prices have changed because of the season of the drought and the flood seasons. And just to see how in the same year I could see those kind of landscapes in the center of Manaus. The draw last year was very strong. It's surprised, everybody was surprised with that. And we have some infrastructure getting inside the state of Amazonas. One example is the connections by with the fiber optics, and about the health and energy. I see that we have this two examples of the sustainable development goals. And just to see, we have the unified health system, public one, but we have the private service health insurance, basically, for those who can pay for that. And we have a private services with for low income and high income people. So we have this regionalization health system that means some obstacles. We have some obstacles, some issues, some challenge matters to deal with. So one of those are the distance between those places, because we have different kind of service, the primary and the high complexity ones. Manaus is a center of a high complexity um, health services, so they have to move to transport people, patients, to long and far journeys to have those health services. And other thing it's important to see, as you say, as we can see, we have, what do we say, low connectivities. But with this study, a colleague of mine said how fast COVID during the period, the pandemic period, fast inside the Amazonas territory. It's a proof for me. It's a proof that we are connected, well, very well connected through the rivers and the airports. So in 2 months, almost the whole territory was infected. And in Brazil, it's used to see that people are proud to have over 60% of hydroelectric supply, so a clean. But for me, I think we have to understand something. There is a mobilization against the dams because there is some impacts and social, environmental impacts because of this. And meanwhile, a significant part of Amazonas state is still dependent on the isolated system based on fossil fuel. So we are inside of high biodiversity system and water system, but we still in consuming burning fossil fuel. Just to see an example of uneven development in Brazil between these two regions, we have in the north, in Amazon, the isolated system is still working on, and the national grid in the south and the north to the northeast of Brazil. Manaus was recently connected with the national grid through the high line transmission to Tucuruí hydroelectric in state of Pará to Manaus, and crossing other cities. And it's just to see better this process. And we had some programs in federal government action, like Light for All, a program that started to the rural areas. The intention was to be more democratic about the supply of energy. And I could see that it's also a process of urbanization. And we have some options now in Brazil, like hydroelectric, thermoelectric, solar energy, and others. But we have still the problem of power over outages in the metropolis. So let's add, industrialization is a starting point of the urban problems. So we need to open our mind to see this, how this is a contradiction situation between urbanization and industrialization, and those kind of progress, technical progress. And for that, the urban services enable the reproduction of capital and ways of living. We have this thing that is a contradiction between the rationality, the technicity, centrality, electricity, and mobility, which means a complex of something that change our lives for good and for bad also. And we have this process that is also a process of homogenization and hierarchization and fragmentation. Now, to go to the end, what should we do from now on? I don't have a recipe, of course. I have several things have been offered for us: education, technical innovation, even the knowledge of indigenous knowledge, reduction the consumption, bioeconomy, tourism, some ways to go from now. But we need to be optimist and also pessimist, or we must be better to realist. So I just see that the sustainable development goals are something like utopia. We have crises to fight for, to go with, and but we have these new challenges. So even we have those process is a process, an uneven process, and it has been reproducing all the time. Meanwhile, we are in a crisis in the Federal University of Brazilians universities, in a crisis, different kind of problems, but we are still working on that and trying to change our lives, and with the studies, research, etc. This is a moment of the NEPACAP. I'm proud to be here, and I'd like to keep in touch with all of you. Just thank you, and I don't know how long I'll be. I hope we can talk about a little bit.
Thank you so much, Paul. That's perfect timing.